Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this Tuesday morning.
Yep.
And I gotta say, brr, like I stepped outside, I keep on saying, I feel like I'm stepping into the air conditioning. It's pretty chilly out, nice and comfortable, which means you're probably still cozy in your bed and it's time to get up.
No, absolutely. But the sunrise was also pretty this morning. And it was chilly, like you said, so I'm definitely enjoying that.
Yeah, I didn't see the sunrise.
No.
Didn't step outside to venture with that one. But yeah, of course, it is the last day in November as well. I cannot believe it. Tomorrow we kickstart the final month of 2021. Christmas season gets started. Anniversary season for us here at Channel 5. We are gearing up for our 30th anniversary, and we do want to remind you, of course, that we celebrate our anniversary with the annual Gimme 5, and that is coming up. So be sure to go to our website and get the coupons, or you can come by Channel 5 and pick them up so you can you can make yourself eligible to win some fantastic prizes.
No, absolutely. Gimme 5, as you said, is how we celebrate our anniversary, and we certainly love it. And
we love it.
Yep. We love the chance to get to interact with you guys, and of course, there are so many giveaways and great deals that you can get that it's, what better way to celebrate with us?
Yeah, and I gotta say, there are some fantastic prizes. It is our 30th anniversary, so we had to make sure that whatever you win, when you pick up that phone and you say, Gimme 5, is going to be something you're looking forward to. And I gotta, if you got some vacation time stored up, especially, there's some great staycation packages. Trust me, you want to get your name in there. So get those coupons in, and they're easy. You can get them on the website, print them out, and just have to drop them off at Channel 5 on Coney Drive.
Yep, absolutely. So you know how to do that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, now, November 30th is also interesting for a different reason. If you've been keeping up with regional news, you'll know that November 30th is not only Barbados' Independence Day, but yesterday we Barbados becoming a republic. They have removed Queen Elizabeth II as their head of state, and now so they've been changing. So now they've changed officially from a constitutional monarchy to a republic. So that is huge news. One of the few Caribbean countries who has made that full transition.
Yeah, is it the third, fourth in the region?
I believe it is the third.
Yeah,
Trinidad is a republic. I think Grenada might be one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
We didn't brush up on our real region.
But yes. But it is the first one to do. It is the first country to the Commonwealth to become a republic in about 30 years. That is huge news, and we saw the ceremony yesterday live from Barbados.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely big news. And coupled with that, they made Rihanna a national hero.
Yes, and now she'll be addressed as the Right Honorable Rihanna.
Wow.
Or Robin, I suppose it would be Robin Fenty.
Yeah.
But yes, she's the second female national hero and the 11th now national hero that Barbados recognizes.
Just such a great, I think giving a nod to a musician.
Yep.
Of course, Rihanna has never faltered in speaking about where she came from, inviting people to visit the island, going back for their carnival and showcasing that as well. So a great ambassador there. But going back to them making the steps, them completing the shift over to a republic, I think Prime Minister Motley had said it very early on that would be something they'd be considering, and she's followed through. I think in the region, everybody's been watching Barbados under her leadership, and they've been very much pleased to see the level of the progressive thinking that she has. Now, we don't live there to know the full execution, but I think from the outside looking in, it does give us a lot of hope in terms of how leadership can be.
Absolutely, and I think that it's taking a really bold position, sticking to it, and I think that we're going to be seeing more of this in future years to come. And I'll say it. I don't mind saying hopefully that will happen here too. Eventually, we don't know when, but I think that I did listen to the speech of the president.
Now president.
Yes,
yeah.
now president. And I also listened to Prime Minister Motley's speech. And I think that, the main, or one of the major theme that was coming out of it was that it's really about burying, or, well, not burying, but, moving on from the colonial past, establishing your own identity and making it on your own as a country.
Yeah.
And it's removing a lot of these symbols and practices that really enforce things that were a part of colonialism and still sort of remain.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you spoke of that, because I think that because this, as you said, hasn't happened in decades, it's not a conversation that we have as often, and I think the full understanding of what it means, looking at the pros and cons of making this decision as a nation, is one that we haven't dived into here. I saw some people saying, well, what has Britain done to them for them to take this step? And it's recognizing, I mean, the major shifts, if you think about it, if you can break it down, is of course now they have a president. So their head of state is now the president, no longer the queen as we see here. And when we look at how the hierarchy or the power structure in our country, that's why we always say the GG, the Governor General, is the Queen's representative, and therefore the head of our state, or the representative of the head of our state.
Yes, exactly. And if you look at your constitution,
Yeah.
you can see the other ways, and the other ways in which, or I should say, the way in which our constitution it's still being designed for Belize to be as a constitutional monarchy, which it still is.
Yeah.
You can see things, for example, a lot of the oaths that their executives take are to be loyal to the crown or to the queen and stuff like that. As an attorney, of course, I go to court, and most of the courtrooms have pictures of the Chief Justice's courtroom does have the King and the Queen, and some of them have others, like E.R., Elizabeth, Regina, and of course she's still on our money.
Yeah.
And so it's.
I think that's the biggest political change that we can think of, but also what it means as a Caribbean nation to exist as a republic. I think the mental shift, and we'll see that with time, how people kind of move into how they view themselves as a republic, and this generation will know the pre-republic phase and the post-republic phase.
Well, I think, bringing it back to a local conversation, I know that there was, of course, a lot of talk that was had in recent weeks about the renaming of several streets in Belize City by the City Council. And, of course, the objective behind that was stated as being for a similar reason, to sort of remove, a lot of the colonial, the history, and replace it with what is really our own history as a country.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also a progressive step. So we never know where Belize is going to be on the path to that sort of step in the future.
Yeah. So that's the big buzz happening today across the region. Internationally, though, I think all the talk is about the new COVID-19 variant, and I was tuning into some of the news this morning, and it's really interesting. I think it may have been CNN, I was slipping, but there was an interview with a doctor from South Africa, and I thought it was really interesting because her perspective, and this is simply her perspective, and she treated persons who had been confirmed with the Omicron variant. And she said that, South Africa took the step to ensure that the world knew as soon as possible, as soon as they were able to identify, to say there is this variant, it is dominant in our country, and it's almost like punitive. Immediately we get locked off from the rest of the world, and we still don't know enough about what the level of severity is as yet. And those that she had treated so far weren't very severe. So it was an interesting twist on the conversation, speaking from the perspective of someone within South Africa. And then, on the flip side of that, I know Germany is looking at potential lockdown measures as a result of their COVID-19 surges, because they have detected a number of cases for persons who did not have any travel history. So it means there is a level of spread, community spread, that's not linked with travel ties.
Yes, and I think the interesting conversation that's surrounding the travel bans, because we've seen lots of countries are now starting to institute bans against not only South Africa, other Southern African countries.
Yeah.
And, I did read up about it too, and people from South Africa were also of the view that, well, first of all, it was just identified by scientists there. It's not that it emerged from there. That they were first detected in tourists, and not actual South African citizens. So that was the first thing, and notwithstanding the fact that they've detected it in other European countries such as the UK and France, the travel bans are only applying to the African countries so far. Although we also saw country like Japan, which took an extreme step and has blocked all international visitors from coming for the moment, just because we don't know what is possible with the Omicron variant. But as you said, I've also been reading that it hasn't been showing severe symptoms, presenting severe symptoms in persons who've been confirmed to have that variant. But I think the concern at this time is its ability to mutate, and its transmissibility, which there's still a lot of questions about, but we'll also see that develop.
Yeah, and I think the key unknown variable is how the vaccines will hold up against it. That is, there's some information coming out, and I said it yesterday, Isani and I were talking about it, and I said, when I heard the news, it's like, here we go again. We've been doing this since 2020, and I think one of the key things we did very early on was to be clear with people that, when it was just a novel virus, a new virus, there was so much information that had to be understood before we could say with certainty what it is, what it does, and how it will affect us. And here we are again. It is a new variant. And there still is a lot more that is being studied to understand exactly what it means. There are the red flag movement. There are red flags right now that makes it a variant of concern. But we're going to try to get you all that information. In fact, today we have a conversation coming up about that as well. Yes,
absolutely. So we're going to speak about what's known so far and perhaps what we can expect.
All right, and so with that, we're actually going to get moving into our show for today. We have our eye-opener lined up for you so we can give you some motivation to get your day started. And our eye-opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Both emotional and physical pain are messages that we need to stop and pay attention to. When we feel pain, our first impulse is to often eradicate it with medication. This is an understandable response, but sometimes in our hurry to get rid of pain, we forget that it is the body's way of letting us know that it needs our attention. A headache can inform us that we're hungry or stressed, just as a sore throat might be telling us that we need to rest our voice. If we override these messages instead of responding to them, we risk worsening our condition. In addition, we create a feeling of disconnectedness between our minds and our bodies. The next time you feel pain, either physical or emotional, you might want to try listening to your own intuition about how to relieve your pain. Maybe taking a few deep breaths will put an end to that headache. perhaps writing in your journal about hurt feelings will ease your heart. Ultimately, the message of pain is all about healing.
That's an interesting one. That one's one for me because it's true. A lot of the times, when you do feel like I'm the person who, if I have this slightest headache or whatever, I reach immediately for my Tylenol or whatever. I don't want to be in discomfort for any longer than I have to be.
Yeah.
So I often take the easy fix. And but it's true. What the eye opener says is that you do feel pain for a reason, whether it's emotional or physical, and it's telling you that something's wrong. And emotional pain, typically we want to get deeper and solve the problem, and where we should. I should say. Some people also ignore that, that also applies to me at times, and you just try to push past. But in both cases, it really does require you to really examine what the cause of it is and try to really, it's like anything, try to really deal with the source problem rather than just covering up the symptoms.
Yeah. Universe is talking to me. No, I think that in general, we shy away from any form of discomfort. And whether it's a physical pain or emotional pain, we find many different ways to mask it. You have people who may just try to self-medicate when they have something wrong rather than investigate. You have situations where you realize that perhaps, and especially, I find that men, when they're sick, they try to tough through it sometimes or hurry medicate rather than taking that step to find out what it is.
Or worse, go to the doctor.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, right? But they grow up wanting to be doctors. They just don't want to go to the doctor. But yeah, I like the idea of the message. I think if you are able to have a level of self-awareness, you can tell when you're not feeling physically at your best, and you can also tell when you're not feeling emotionally at your best. And that message is for a reason. It's because you need to take the effort and the time and the required steps to pursue that healing. We know ultimately that you don't treat something that's serious, it's going to get worse.
Yep.
And that's physically. And if you don't take care of your emotional health, then it does get worse as well. So you have to be able to address them.
No, absolutely. And, the thing is to not ignore them, which can also be a thing. And that can happen both physically and, emotionally. Because, the longer that you don't deal with the problem is definitely the worse it gets. And it's kind of like that snowball effect where, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And then you have to be the one to stop it. So, it's better
or your body just stops you, trust me, right?
Yeah. So it's better to, deal with the snowball than the whole avalanche. So, try to address the problems at the source and it'll work out much better than the alternative.
All right. Well, with that, though, as our eye-opener for this morning, we are going to find out more about our weather for today. And we have our weather prepared by Crystal Rosales, and our general situation for today is that generally fair weather prevails.
And over the next 24 hours, we're expecting it to be sunny with a few cloudy spells and partly cloudy skies tonight. Showers will be isolated.
All right, our winds are going to be light and variable, and the sea state will be slight.
Now, looking at our temperatures, we are expecting highs today of 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 88 inland, and 74 up in the hills. Tonight, we're expecting lows of 71 degrees along the coast, 65 inland, and 61 up in the hills.
All right, and our outlook is that generally fair conditions with showers being isolated for Wednesday and Wednesday night. And we do...
No, sorry, I was just going to say that we are also made it through the end of the hurricane season.
I know. Can we just all take a collective sigh of relief after, we didn't get any scares. And I know if we had the forecaster on, they'd remind us that storms outside of the seasons are possible, but less likely. And, I think that's great news for us that we didn't have to face any tropical depression or storm or worse, hurricane or excessive flooding so far. I should knock on wood somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
And we do want to say thanks again to Cristel Rosales for preparing today's forecast. But that's the weather, and we've got to get moving into our show as well, because we've got lots of great conversations lined up this morning. As we mentioned earlier, our first conversation is going to be surrounding the new Omicron variant of COVID-19, and we're going to be having a conversation with Dr. Jorge Hidalgo, and he's going to be breaking down a lot of what we know so far.
All right. The second part of the show, yesterday kickstarted the National Disability Week. So many people in this country who are diversely able, who are functioning within regular roles, and those who are struggling to find that space where they'll be allowed to function in regular roles. This morning, we'll have 3 persons living with a disability talking about their own personal experience, what it's like to keep a job, to maneuver themselves around a world that doesn't quite cater to all their needs.
Yep, and finally, we are going to be having a conversation all about a new children's book that is published right here in Belize, and it is a coloring book, and we're going to be learning all about that from the creators in our third and final conversation for this morning. And then, of course, I'm going to be wrapping up with some trending topics for Trending Tuesdays. And that's our show for this morning.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break, though, before we get that first conversation started. But before we do, we got a birthday shout out, and this is for someone who celebrated their birthday yesterday.
Yep. So from all of us here at Open Your Eyes on Channel 5, we want to wish a very happy birthday to Ismay Duncan. And we hope you had a great day yesterday for your birthday, and you can still celebrate today. But have a happy birthday, and we wish you many more.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and take that break. When we come back, we'll have Dr. Jorge Hidalgo in to talk to us about what we now know about the new COVID-19 variant. So please stay tuned.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this Smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our Smart service, we pay an average of about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to Smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
The TV you love is always with you, from live TV, sports, and on-demand titles. Choose your plan today. Plans start as low as $15 per month. My TV, entertainment, anytime, anywhere.
It's almost time when we change the drums for the Christmas bells. And you know that when Christmas season starts, we celebrate big at Channel 5. How big? It's our 30th anniversary. That's right, the Big 3-0. And this year's Gimme 5 will be packed with fun, entertainment, and big giveaways. The show starts on December 6th and runs through December 10th, starting at 7:30 p.m. nightly. Coupons are now available for 25 cents each on our Channel 5 website and at our studios on Coney Drive. Fill out your coupons and bring them into our compound. And remember, starting December 6th, when the phone rings, don't say hello, say, "Gimme 5."
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 5 Caribbean Media Awards for 2019 and 2020. Best Television News Item, Best Responsible Coverage of Children's Issues, Best Health Education Journalism, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with special mention by the jury in the Best Television News Item category.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back. And if you're joining us right now, we're just getting our first conversations for this morning started. And as we said, we're going to be talking all about the newly detected variant of COVID-19, that is the Omicron variant. And here to joining us for this discussion this morning, we are joined in our studio by Dr. Jorge Hidalgo, who's an internist at Belize Healthcare Partners. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, and thank you to having me again.
Right, of course, always a pleasure to have you here. And of course, this is a topic which everybody seems to be speaking about right now. And before we get into the specifics of the Omicron Delta, I'm wondering if we can just start for the benefit of our viewers, just by talking a little bit about what the variants of the virus really are, and how we're detecting them, and what those different things mean.
Yes, that's definitely an important point to start. No? As the pandemic is evolving, one of the important things is that we call it a constant surveillance. No? The World Health Organization, they have a group of virologists that essentially assess the evolution of the SARS-CoV-2. And one of the important things is to try to see and detect those that we call it variants of interest, variants of concern, and the one that we definitely don't want to have is the variants of high consequence. You know, the variants of interest are those that during a surveillance we see some small clusters of people that they have and exhibit a little bit more transmissibility, but no more than that. No? I mean that we need to essentially try to see and focus those clusters and trying to contain it. Yeah. But when we have a variant of concern, I mean that we need to have 3 aspects in consideration. No? One, the high transmissibility. The second one is if they escape immunity. I mean that the treatment that we are offering is no longer working, the diagnostic capability are also not strong, and in the present situation is we need to analyze what is the situation with the vaccines. Yeah. And the third aspect is if those variants are causing increased mortality, are more deadly. And then the last one, the variants of high consequence are those that, despite of everything, those type of variants are escaping our ability to detection, over therapeutics, and as well, they're going to escape immunity, and are definitely more deadly. But hopefully we don't need to. We are not going to have one of those. Never know.
I was telling Gavin earlier that it feels like we're back at the start again, trying to learn and understand more about the variant and how it affects what we know so far about how it affects the body. One of the first things that came out before it was classified as a variant of concern about Omicron was I think the WHO used the term heavily mutated virus itself, the particle. And it goes right back to one of the things I know you've tried your best to explain to us in the simplest ways, which is how the spike protein, this circle ball and all those little spikes on it that's used as a representation, how that has changed. Can you break down for us in the simplest terms what that means and how that helps to identify this variant as a variant of concern?
Yes, well, as we discussed since the beginning, one of the main characteristic of the COVID-19 virus is that as we normally see the type of RNA viruses, those are very small. I mean that just to put it in a context, they say that the normal RNA virus have a size of like 11 to 12 kilobases. I mean that they say this size compared with the COVID-19 virus that have a size of 30 kilobases, meaning more or less 3 times the size of a normal RNA virus. And with that in mind, we imagine that the ability to mutate is such that if the virus itself is mutating, then also is basically going to kill himself. No? But the virus, this particular virus, has many abilities, and one of the abilities that this virus have is that have the ability to control mutations with time. No? I mean that what is the situation with virus? Normally they are going to mutate because that's one of the characteristics of virus and bacteria is that they want. The only reason is they want to live, and they will do whatever it takes to survive, and that's why they are always mutating. Some mutations are basically irrelevant. Some others probably survive for a while, and some others essentially they will take over and essentially be the predominant mutation, like the Delta at that point. And now we have the Omicron. But saying that, what is the situation with Omicron is that the Omicron have 50 mutations. And then one of the mutations, 32 of those mutations are in the spike protein. Mean that means that the shape of the spike protein is one. That the vaccines or the medication we know recognize it. But if now they have this amount of mutation, then the shape is different. Meaning that what we essentially are thinking is that the different armamentarium we have, they are not going to recognize. The other important thing is we have something that we call it the receptor binding area of the COVID. And mean that is essentially where the virus attach to the cells. In that area also have more mutation, mean that the virus have more ability to attach to the cell. And also, if we say that, then it's going to be more possibility for us to get sicker in those situations.
So those two explanations are part of the reasons why it's become so concerning. If the way it kind of latches on to the body, changes, then that's part of the transmissibility concern there.
Exactly.
And the change in the spike protein is what is still the question trying to be answered about the effectiveness of the vaccine.
That's right.
Okay, because the current vaccines and treatments are geared towards recognizing the previous spike protein of the previous variants. Yeah. Okay. That helps me to understand a bit more. But let's go back to one of the things that you mentioned earlier, which was recognizing that the virus is going to change over time. The longer it's in existence, it's going to change over time. How do we know whether or not it has a more detrimental effect on a person who acquires this variant?
Well, just to give you an example of mutation and the variability of the virus, the more simple example is the influenza virus, the common flu. That every year we need to use a different vaccine because we have a different, the virus changes, and then the vaccine that we use in 2020 is not longer effective for the influenza virus in 2021. Mm-hmm. I mean that what we believe is that at some point this virus is going to become endemic, and then we will need to vaccinate every year or twice a year, whatever is going to be the case, because of the different mutations. But going back to what is happening right now with Omicron and what we know about Omicron is that as the first case was reported, or the sample were collected in November 9 and reported on November 11 on a case on Botswana. It was a patient that was infected, but also the patient was also suffering from HIV. And apparently the treatment of the patient in terms of the HIV wasn't strong enough. The patient was weak, and then that also is an explanation that possibility that have any some effect in the evolution of the virus. No? Mean that what is being reported from the doctors in South Africa is a couple of things. One, that we also need to essentially to congratulate is the transparency of the government, and the second one, the constant surveillance that allows to detect that. Then saying that the initial cases for the last 10 weeks before the 10th of November, the cases on South Africa was basically going down. Then from the last few weeks of November, they start to notice a rise on cases. But one of the important things is that most of these cases have a different symptomatology. The presentation was completely different.
Wait, so their first symptoms in this wave that they're in, which they're assuming is Omicron, was different?
Yeah, the symptoms are completely different. I mean that those patients are no longer reporting loss of smell or loss of taste. Also, they are not reporting respiratory symptoms. The main three symptoms they report was headache and extreme fatigue and body ache. That's one of the things. That does
not bode well for the flu season, because that's the start of a flu right there.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean that's one of the things they mentioned, that since the presentation was so atypical, I mean that we are. They report the first case, but what we don't know is that more likely, in other countries there are already some cases, as we already noticed. No, in Belgium they have a case almost detected in around the same time that South Africa, but South Africa reported it first. No? I mean that also.
So what you're saying is, and it's one of the things I know Gavin was saying, that it may not have originated in South Africa.
Exactly, and that's why also the community in South Africa is saying we reported first, and then, like I say, they are basically being penalized for that, in the sense that all the travel bans that are from South Africa.
So what you just shared with us is really important, because I think countries are just starting to identify existing cases in their countries, so that the first symptoms being presented as change: headache, extreme fatigue, and body aches. Those are things that, is it only South Africa that is confirming that, or is it now accepted that these are now the preliminary symptoms of this particular variant?
Those are the information that we are having for the initial weeks of the cases that are being seen in South Africa. I mean that the other important thing that we need to mention is that South Africa have 24% only about the population being vaccinated. I mean that's important. The initial cases and those information about the symptoms and the mild form of presentation essentially was reported by Dr. Angelique Kotzi, who is the main the doctor that actually report the cases in South Africa. In the other aspect, and this is essentially the Dr. Motiva, who is essentially from the ICU perspective, because also we say, okay, this is my cases, but there are some also critical cases, and there are not too much cases in the ICU, but there are some. And the main characteristics of these patients, 60% on patients that are non-vaccinated. The other percentage, there are patients that only have one vaccine. And also the other patients that they don't have known vaccines. I mean that's important because that essentially what the preliminary information we are having from South Africa is that definitely the vaccines are playing a role, and then we advise the population. They are advising the population to get fully vaccinated, and also for those that are fully vaccinated to get the booster.
What is the predominant vaccine being used in South Africa?
As we know, they usually use AstraZeneca.
Okay, okay. Now, there are reports, and I don't know if they're confirmed as yet, so please, that it is, in fact, not necessarily more severe, that it may be milder in symptoms with persons. Is that the case, or when do we actually say that that is the case?
The preliminary information we have is that the cases we are seeing are basically in a mild form or completely asymptomatic, and that's why, as I mentioned before, they are saying that probably we have more cases around the world but being undetected. And now they seeing these cases with atypical symptoms, they run the surveillance and then they detect it, and that's why now they are saying we are being blamed and also penalized for go public and report it.
And how widely reported is it at this point? You know, how many, like in terms of numbers? I'm pretty sure we don't have exact figures, I guess, right now. But what sort of study, what sort of numbers are we looking at right now? If you know, in terms of people who have confirmed cases of Omicron.
Well, every day, as you see, there are new cases in around the world. No? There's been cases confirmed in Belgium, Israel, Hong Kong, Canada also reports on cases. What probably is more critical right now is that we are analyzing the data and also the sequencing of the virus, and also to see the effectiveness of the vaccines, or of course the people that are in the vaccine area, they're also trying to see, analyzing the effectiveness of the actual vaccines and if some modifications needs to be done. No? Yeah. And that's one also, getting into the vaccines a little bit is important, because the actual technology that we are using, it allows that. No? Yeah. However, it's saying that if some modifications need to happen, it's going to take around 100 days to happen.
Which is 3 months.
Yeah.
And depending on how much it is present in a country, the spread would happen. And let's talk about that, because for a country like Belize, looking at the severity of the illness is one part of it, but transmissibility is also of high impact to us. If we go back to the beginning of COVID-19, and even when the new Delta variant was established, whether or not it was severe in how it affected the body was one aspect, but when you talk about a percentage of persons, small or big, being hospitalized, it overwhelms our healthcare system easily.
Yes, and that's one of the main concerns, that if we have a raise on the number of the cases, is going to definitely overwhelm the health system, the resources that we have. Locally, we have essentially 80% of the patients are completely asymptomatic or with very mild symptoms. Still the same trend, and then we have only 10% of people that can develop a moderate case of COVID, and only 5% that is going to have a severe case that will end in ICU.
And what about the potential for reinfection?
This is the other important point that we are also is raised concern with Omicron, that is going to have a potential of cause a reinfection more than the Delta and the other variants.
So Delta already causes reinfection in some persons,
yeah,
and Omicron might be more likely to reinfect a person who's already had COVID.
Exactly.
Why?
That's one of the things. No, the main reason is the mutations. No, I mean that and that's why at this stage we cannot say it's not more virulent. It's not making people more sick, but it causes a reinfection. We also see with Omicron some breakthrough infections. No, in people that are fully vaccinated but with mild symptoms.
And then another concern which has been raised about Omicron, just sort of in the international reporting, is also as you mentioned just now, the potential for further mutations, which seems to be a big concern. Why is it that this one in particular is raising that alarm?
Well, as we mentioned at the beginning, one of the things with virus is that they essentially trying to stay alive. That's the main thing. They need to live. And with one of those is that is going to be a constant mutation. I mean that we have the Delta, and the Delta basically was the predominant for a while, but what we are seeing is that now Omicron is going to undertake, and then potentially, as we are seeing, is going to be the predominant variant, as we see. And then if we remember in the case of the South Africa in particular, they report the beta, the beta variant, that have one particular that basically escape the immunity, but only that, no more virulent and no more infectious. And then came the Delta that in some way have some ability to escape immunity, not a lot, but the more virulent, I mean that the rate of infections is higher.
That is such a valid point. I never thought of that. There was Beta, there was Gamma, I'm sure I've missed others.
And Alpha.
There was Alpha. But those never became the predominant variants as we saw with Delta.
Exactly.
What's the difference? Because maybe we'll escape Omicron too.
And that's the one thing. As we see, the virus are constant on a constant mutation, mean that each variant have some features that basically allow a particular variant to take over, and they control and be the predominant variant, like the Delta. And now we have the Omicron, mean that have 50 mutations, and then 30 in the spike protein, and 10 in the receptor binding area. Mean that's essentially put us in a position that definitely we are concerned, and we need to know what is going to happen. The initial report, in a sense, it alleviates because we don't see a lot of infectivity. We don't see too much patients in the ICU. But again, this is only more or less a few say a week or a little bit more than a week that this one was reported. And the other important aspect is that essentially it's been only on a few areas of the area of Pretoria in South Africa. No? And we need to see what is going to be the behavior of the virus in other countries and in other regions. No?
Dr. Hidalgo, with your far reach of network of doctors, what's the consensus? Is it a matter of if this will be the global predominant variant, or when?
Well, I think so. That's the something that immediately we cannot answer. It seems to be the case, but we need to see what is going to happen in the next following weeks, and also we need to see what is going to happen with the research and also the analysis of the different sequencing. But it seems to be that we are going towards that direction, that the Omicron is going to be the predominant.
Now, on the issue of genetics, you can say, I know it's not your area of expertise, but you tend to know people who know it well, right? The issue of we do genetic sequencing in Belize. Do we have the capacity, or what does it take to have the capacity to start testing for that variant in Belize?
Yeah, well, as we was in the conversation before we start the show, I think so. Belize have a big role to play, and also we need to be proud that we are only Panama, Costa Rica, and Belize to have the ability to do their own sequencing in country. No? I mean that, and one of the things we are discussing at the beginning is that also the artificial intelligence and also the nanotechnology, and just to simplify, is the science of the small, that we call it in simple words. And I don't remember, or probably you are very familiar, everybody is familiar with the minions. No? Then what the technology we are using in Belize for sequencing is calling the minion sequencing. That essentially, yes, that is usually a regular platform for sequencing is that big, normal. No? Then the minion sequencing is a small device like that. That I think so. I sent some videos to share, but it's very portable, and it's basically use nanotechnology. We call it nanopores, and that allows to do the minion sequencing, and then we have the ability in country to do that analysis with Delta, and also now with the Omicron.
So we could start looking for Omicron now. Yeah.
And is it? No, I was going to say that also, you know, now that we are learning more about the virus, is it also, in terms of COVID patients who you know, in Belize now, are we also going to start monitoring, you know, for the symptoms and reporting, just, you know, in the same way that we're looking at the sequencing?
Yes, because the most important thing is that the two things go hand in hand. One is the surveillance, and to trying to recognize those potential cases, and then the second thing is that if we have the samples, then to be able to send it to the laboratory to do the proper sequence, you know. And I think so that's one of the most important things that we are learning with the pandemic, is that we cannot be isolated. We need to have the collaboration, and we need to have the networking that we can work together. No? And I need to mention that because I think so for the laboratory part and for the sequencing, Baylor College plays an important role, and I think so was a great collaboration and great step for the country that we will be able to do that. No?
And Doc, if you were to measure today the level of concern you have, you treat COVID-19 patients at Belize Healthcare Partners. You've seen what it can do to one's body. If you're to say the level of concern about this new variant, what would you rate it at?
Well,
1 to 10.
At this stage, we don't know as much, but what the areas of concern is if the actual treatment. Remember that the treatment for COVID is a very dynamic, and then at the very beginning we start to essentially basically trying everything, and now we based on the clinical trials we have the different armamentarium that is not too much, but that is working at this stage. What is the main concern is that medications like the monoclonal antibodies, if is going to continue to be effective or is going to reduce the effectiveness against the virus. We don't know that as yet, but this is one of the main concerns due to the fact that, as we mentioned, the vaccines and well as those medications go to the spike protein, and the shape is different, and then we don't know what is going to happen with those medications, if they are going to continue to be effective as they are right now. And then essentially we go to point zero and trying to now
try everything again.
Exactly.
Are you aware if the medical community is looking to engage to make recommendations to government as to steps that can be made to mitigate a potential spread?
Well, that's I think so is the case. This is already been ongoing, to say it like that, to essentially do different recommendations, and I believe there is always an active surveillance, and then just trying to probably be more proactive, in those cases. I mean that's one of the things also the South Africa is saying. Despite of everything, despite of all the countries are banned the different travels to, especially South Africa, to other countries, then it's a criticism that to be too drastic. But it's again the case. If you are too proactive, that why you are too proactive, and if you are not doing nothing, then why we are not doing nothing. I mean that it's difficult to please people, but the idea is there. It's a active surveillance. The committee is giving already some recommendations, some suggestions, and it's just to agree on what is going to be done, the next steps.
All right. Any final thoughts or things that you feel our viewers should know?
Well, one of the most important things is what we know about how or what we can do as an individual and as a community. One, we need to continue doing our different strategies, using your mask, being on ventilated areas, and this is one of the things probably we need to try to see how we can improve on the ventilation areas in different areas of the work, and also trying to avoid to be in crowded areas and be safe.
All right.
And well, Doctor, thank you for coming in and sharing all of that knowledge. This is an ongoing situation, but we definitely appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Welcome back to help us understand at any point. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, it is National Disability Week, and we'll be talking to 3 persons with diverse abilities about what it's like being champions and existing in Belize with special abilities. So please stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
The region of the Americas has a proud legacy of being a global leader when it comes to vaccination. Ours was the first region to eliminate smallpox, polio, rubella, congenital rubella syndrome, and measles. We also eliminated neonatal tetanus. Now more than ever, vaccines play a vital role in keeping us healthy. As we move forward with vaccinating against COVID-19, let us not forget the importance of our routine immunizations to keep us protected against other diseases. Talk to your healthcare provider today to make sure you and your family are up to date with all your vaccines.
Vaccines bring us closer.
Bundle the fastest, most reliable, unlimited broadband in Belize with your prepaid or postpaid mobile plan or Netflix. You can bundle your broadband with your prepaid and enjoy 50% off all national calls, plus get SMS and data. Paid plans? Then bundle with any speed and pay only $25 extra monthly to enjoy unlimited smart-to-smart calls, plus 500 minutes, plus 6,300 megabytes of data. Stream unlimited HD movies and TV shows with our broadband, plus the Netflix add-on for only $30 monthly, and enjoy streaming on your laptop, TV, phone, or tablet. Visit a smart showroom near you to sign up or upgrade to the bundle that's right for you. Smart, bringing people together.
It's almost time when we change the drums for the Christmas bells. And you know that when Christmas season starts, we celebrate big at Channel 5. How big? It's our 30th anniversary. That's right, the Big 3-0. And this year's Gimme 5 will be packed with fun, entertainment, and big giveaways. The show starts on December 6th and runs through December 10th, starting at 7:30 p.m. nightly. Coupons are now available for 25 cents each on our Channel 5 website and at our studios on Coney Drive. Fill out your coupons and bring them into our compound. And remember, starting December 6th, when the phone rings, don't say hello, say, "Gimme 5."
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 5 Caribbean Media Awards for 2019 and 2020. Best Television News Item, Best Responsible Coverage of Children's Issues, Best Health Education Journalism, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with special mention by the jury in the Best Television News Item category.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Back, and we're moving into our second conversation for today. As promised, we are talking about the different activities happening in National Disability Week, and this year's theme is powered by inclusion. Am I in your village? We have three persons joining us today, persons with disabilities, who are going to be talking about their own personal experience and the work that is currently taking place and the work that needs to be done. We have with us Marshall Nunez, who is the Disability Desk Coordinator at the Ministry of Human Development. We have Gabriel Alpuche with us as well. And we have Kenrick Theus joining us via Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'll jumpstart the conversation with the one we had in the break. Marshall, I tell you that a part of advocacy is education. And one of the key things is terminologies and how we refer to people. And you said that we don't use diversely or differently abled anymore.
No, that's a local term that was established in Belize, but globally, person with disability are referred to as just that, persons with disability. The United Nations Convention was established to protect the rights of persons living with disability. For context, remember, we are working on prioritizing persons with disability on the public transport. And the danger of using diverse abilities, that everybody can defend that they have a diverse ability, but the priority will be for persons living with disability. And so we need to quantify and clarify that in order to be able to regulate it when the time comes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We learn something new every single day. Let's talk about the preparations that have gone into Disability Week so far.
We started, the idea came up when we had a meeting in around mid to late August. And we know that we had to start planning Disability Awareness Week, which traditionally is the last few days in November and then leading into December with disability, well, International Disability Day being December 3rd. As the Disability Desk coordinator, we invited as much, if not all, the stakeholder agencies that work with persons living with disability. And we came together, I think we started with about 20-odd persons or 20-odd organizations represented. And the plans commenced then, and since then we have met almost every week in order to plan this event. The week got started on Sunday with a mass that was celebrated by St. Martin de Porres Parish. The participants in the service were all persons living with disabilities, those who read the readings, who did the petitions. Today, being Tuesday, is the National Disability Conference. It's a first of its kind, and the conference set forth to create participation, inclusion, and non-discrimination of persons with disability, and we are trying to establish that through policy and then later on get into legislation. Yesterday, I think the week started with some video series by BCVI, the Council for the Visually Impaired, who coincidentally is celebrating 40 years this year, 40 years of existing and treating persons who are living with vision problems. Also, the National Resource Center for Inclusive Education, NARCI, they started some video series and will be having some panel discussion and consultation with parents and students throughout the course of the week. On Wednesday, Autism Belize, that's tomorrow, will be having a guest speaker. He's an international speaker. I think he's the first person with Down syndrome that went into the Lineman. And he will be making his address tomorrow evening, I think at around 7. On Thursday, the Inspiration Center launches its annual calendar. And then there is the show tomorrow night right here on Channel 5. On Friday, there is another consultation. And then on Saturday, very importantly, BAPDA, the Belize Assembly for Persons with Diverse Ability, see the name come back again. They will be having a Daladier drive. The drives start already. They have their drop boxes at various businesses within the city. If I can, they're at Westchuck, Benny's, Brody's on the Philip Golson Highway, Mirab, Smart, and Publix on the Philip Golson Highway. And then they have Publix and 88 Shopping Center on the Boulevard in Belize City, Brody's downtown, and Bottom Dollar. And so we are asking to generously donate to BAPDA Daladier Drive. It's going to, well, Saturday is the highlight, but they will keep those boxes, I think, for a while, so you can continue to drop. BAPDA,
so be generous, people, and look out for these receptacles.
Please do.
Yes.
BAPDA has sent letters of intent all across the country to establish district chapters of the organization, and so these resources will be able to assist them in doing just that.
All right. So that's kind of the rundown and overview of what's happening. And a big part of National Disability Week is showcasing the existing triumphs and challenges of persons with disabilities across the world. And we're bringing it to Belize this morning. And the three of you, Marshall, while you're here wearing your Disability Desk Coordinator hat, you're still three persons who are living in Belize and have to face, Kenrick, you'll have to tell him, call you back later.
Kenrick, a very important man, right?
But you are living in Belize and you have your own personal experience. Let's start with Gabrielle. Gabrielle, you are employed at Fulltech. We've seen you in some of their ads and in some other promotional stuff. Tell us about your experience.
Well, my experience is in terms of full tech or generally speaking? In
Just
terms
general,
of,
yeah.
Generally speaking, it has been obstacles, not very insurmountable, but obstacles nevertheless. Speaking as it pertains to full tech, the process of applications for businesses was a very demoralizing one because I sent out in excess of about 25 applications and got back responsive from about 10 with very specific answers or very around the same context, being that my resume spoke for itself. I'm qualified for the job. However, they're not in a position to hire because they're not adequately equipped in terms of things like ramps, bathrooms, things of that sort. And so they would have to decline or put on hold just because they're not equipped in that sense.
Wow.
Full Tech Systems, Ms. Diane and Mr. Dean Fuller, they accepted that challenge. While I will put challenge in quotes,
Yeah.
they accepted that challenge and they decided that they'll take the bull by the horn, as they say, and they accepted me, and I'm 6 years in. I know that it has been challenging, but with effort it was accomplished and it has been accomplished. And so that's just some fruitful that was just a fruitful accomplishment by them to get me on board on the team and just look at the abilities of the person rather than the obstacles and the disability of someone.
Yeah. I mean, your journey starts before even gaining employment, and that's an important factor in
right.
Kind of establishing your own independence. But there's also things like school and hanging out with friends and all the other things that everyone wants to enjoy.
Well, Marlene, I'll tell you, I was never short of hands when it came to friends. I always had people crowding the wheelchair and always willing to help. So that was never
Awesome.
that was never an obstacle there. Now, when it came to the commodities of having, I went to Holy Redeemer, and so if you know North Front Street, it's a very trafficked area, especially in the morning, and so that being at a very young age, my mother had to be the champion of that advocacy, because I couldn't do it then. But my mom with Miss Neal from Narcy, Miss Martinez, and with the Ministry of Education and the Belize City Council, I mean, it was a very long advocacy because to get what they call a disability sign, so that you would be able to park in front of Holy Redeemer, without not getting a ticket. Because if you had done that without the sign, then you would have gotten a ticket there. However, with the advocacy of my mom, Miss Neal and Miss Martinez from Narcy, it was achieved. That just goes to show how persistence and advocacy does pay off. I mean, it can be a very long and dreadful experience, but with persistence, with effort, with just getting at it and not losing sight of that goal, I mean, it can be achieved. And that has been the story of my entire life, which is just pushing at it, just putting the effort, being there day in and day out, and you'll get effort, you'll get accomplishments.
Yeah.
And Henrik, perhaps you'd like to join the conversation and tell us a little bit about your experience just living in Belize with disability.
Henrik, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we're just getting you to join in on the conversation and perhaps to shed a little light on what your experience has been like just generally living with your disability.
I think basically in Belize, just a lot of infrastructural stuff needed for the disabled. I'm talking about like stuff on the streets, like the sidewalks, access to buildings. Access is a big thing for me. You have new buildings being built here in this year, 2021, that are not even putting in a ramp for access. That's important. That should be legislated, I think. part of it also have to do with a lot of education needed as well, especially with the younger children, so they themselves can understand what disability is. Because people sometimes they stare, they look at you in a funny kind of way, not understanding. And so education is important as well. But for me, my biggest challenge, I think, is not a challenge really, but something that I take on myself is just educating people that disabled people might be different, but yet they can still work, they can still do meaningful things, and we're getting to see more and more of that in Belize. People in wheelchair actually working and doing items. I mean, for me, I keep myself very, very busy. No pity, no sorrow from myself. I find people trying to show me pity, and that's not important for me. So I keep going, basically. And those are just some of the small challenges there. But overall, I think I'm seeing there's more acceptance, and I'm happy to see that this week's week of activities, how diverse it is, and how far-reaching it will be with other people throughout the country.
Now, Marshall, your experience is different. You experienced vision loss as an adult. So tell us a bit about what you learned when you became a person with a disability.
Okay. My journey started when I have a bone disease known as osteomyelitis, and I lost my first leg. I was working at the time. I was employed at the Ministry of Finance, and I still kept on working because it was mainly a desk job. So as people would look at me, and I would always point out to them that the surgery was on my leg, not on my brain. So I'm still able to function, to do everything the same, except I'm not going to be able to run any races. So I kept going, and I think I find that a lot of people were impressed by that, because they would think that people would want to be sheltered, you want to be away from people, you want to be seen, that kind of a thing. And it was nothing like that. I found too that people were, as long as you could sit and explain to them the situation, because a lot of people they're in the dark, they don't really understand what's happening. Once you can understand your situation and how independent you can be, I think they get to appreciate it more. And that's why I want people to, when you have a disabled child, a lot of people would hide disabled kids there. I went to a house some years ago, there was a disabled child, I didn't even know that was in the house. And I've been going to that house for years, because he's kept in a room somewhere in the back. But bring them out, there's no shame attached to it. Bring them out so that they can be exposed, and if there's any assistance that we had, that people out there will be able to assist, because you can't assist what you don't see, you see?
Yeah. All right, and Marshall, let's get your perspective.
I need to, as I say, I was not born blind. I became that as an adult. But I need to say two things. Remember the biblical story when Jesus was walking with the disciples, and they came upon a blind man, and the disciples asked, is this man guilty of his own sin, or has he adopted the sins of his parents? And Christ responded to them that neither of those. He is blind because he wants to glorify God. And I feel like the Lord has had a plan for me. My favorite Bible scripture is Jeremiah 29:11, where it says, I had a plan for you to prosper you. And I feel like, I've been a community leader.
Yeah.
And I believe very reverently that maybe it's a part of the plan that I can be a strong voice leader and advocate for a person with disability, and that is a responsibility and a role that I take on very seriously. My moving around, even though I've lost my sight, and I've not lost my vision, but I've lost my sight, I go around, a lot of people know me, and so it's not too difficult for me to navigate. But it still creates some challenge there, and I think Kendrick mentioned the sidewalks. They're very challenging. I believe even for people who are fully able. The slopes in those sidewalks, they're terrible. Even for me walking with a cane, it's sudden that a little curve will come up and you have to fall. There are the conditions of the streets, the sidewalks, there are some missing manhole covers. All of those things are great challenges. And I think for a user of a wheelchair, it poses the same challenge. But we, sorry.
I just wanted to ask because I think it's interesting how you point that out. I think it's a great way to see, you know, being a community leader before and then being a community leader as a part of the community of persons with disabilities. What did you learn that you never would have known if you weren't?
That's an excellent question, because hadn't I gotten into this situation or had this condition, I don't even think I would have been looking at persons with disabilities. So it's a very good lesson for me. What I've learned is that persons with disability also need a voice, and they need a champion. When I got appointed at the disability desk in March, I said that I was a very strong advocate, but now I believe that I'm a champion for persons with disability. Kendrick made a good point. There are people who, in this time and age, still feel like it's taboo to have a disability. People are afraid to come out. That we need to change, because persons who are living with disability are also people. And we also need to have that, or the community also need to have that dignity of life and their own pride. And so we want to restore that for those who haven't had it, or build for those who did not.
And in terms of reception to a lot of your efforts, or actually even before we reach there, in terms of just the public, how do you find people are people sensitized enough to these? I see Gabriel shaking your head to some of these difficulties. So why did you shake your head just now?
Because there's different, they wouldn't say rules, but different protocols that we follow in terms of in banks or in lines where there's special needs, or people who are elderly would tend to have their own line and go to the front. Many times it's often than not whereby we hear snickers in terms of, I'll say it in probably in Creole, why you have to go to the front, or things of that sort, whereby people they don't understand the challenges and the advocacies that that Mr. Nunez and other people like myself we're fighting for, because the understanding and the awareness is not there. I mean, I understand, and sometimes I even get the patients to just sit in the same line, because I'm not different from anybody else. So whilst there is, and I understand the privilege of having a line where a special needs or a disabled person could go up to, sometimes the snickers and the comments get to you. And so as a human, you tend to just, you know what, I understand that the privilege is there, but I'll just sit and wait until my turn comes up. And that's just something as a community, if we understand and the education is there, then those things are omitted and it becomes a part of the norm as opposed to something that tends to trauma at the feelings, at the emotions level.
You know, we were chatting during the break, and I think it's so insightful when I hear the first-hand experience of people. You said that one of the things that desperately needs to be worked on, that you have spoken about many times before, is public transportation.
Yes, ma'am.
And while you have a lot of willing people who want to step in and help, you also want to be able to do it on your own if you choose.
Right. Part of being disabled, and I could speak for all persons with disabilities, that independence is something very huge. And the transportation is not there. You go to other countries whereby there's lifts to get in bus, or there's a specific area designed whereby you don't need to get out of your wheelchair because there's clamps to clamp down your wheel so it doesn't roll in a bus and things of that sort. It's not here. And whilst in the limited cases that I've had, the conductors and the drivers, they're willing to help, it's a little bit not necessarily traumatic. It's traumatic because they have to carry you. You don't know what will happen to your wheelchair. This is my feet, and so if anything happens to this, then I tend to be down for a couple weeks until it gets fixed. And so all of that has to be into the planning process, and there's a lot of planning when it goes from moving from point A to point B. Yes, I have a very good support structure in terms of my family and friends. However, for someone that does not have that, then it becomes very challenging. And so with building codes, with transportations, with, like he mentioned, ramps is a big thing, because what happened, not ramps, but the sidewalks, because whilst that is it's imperative for someone who is visually impaired, for someone who's rolling onto a sidewalk, it's supposed to be a smooth transition from the street to the sidewalk without having any bumps going up, because then that could propel you to go out of the chair if you don't have on a seatbelt.
Yeah.
And so there's an inch or like a half inch between the sidewalk and what the street is, and so the wheelchair reaches a hit, and then that could, if depending on how fast you're going, could propel you out of the chair. And so yes, it poses a slight risk, but a risk nevertheless for someone in a wheelchair, like someone who's visually impaired.
I love what you're saying, because I think it gives us an opportunity to educate, just like we started this conversation, Marshall, because here's the thing, there's, what do they call it? The heart is willing. Putting a slope, any slope in a sidewalk, on a building, does not equal accessibility. Who wants to take that one on?
Well, sorry, we have to look at what universal designs look like. And for me, at the disability as well, we're doing all this stuff, we're also learning as we go along. We're doing a lot of consultation with other jurisdiction that is more advanced. Like take the ramps. The slope for the ramps need to be built at 5 degrees. In Belize, we have all different kinds of ramps. In fact, there are some people who want to be, I know they have a good and willing heart, but the ramps have tiles. And that becomes extremely perilous. When it rains and it's wet, even able-bodied people have difficulty navigating ramps like that. And so we are looking at all those things. And what the message is that when we make the buildings accessible and we use a universal design, we're not biased to persons with disability, because able-bodied people can use the access as well. And so we are hoping that through proper education and advocacy that people will buy into it. By the way, it's a good time to acknowledge the Belize City Council, and especially Councillor Albert Van, who has traffic as his responsibility, because we are putting up quite a bit of disability parking signs around the city, which is really and truly necessary for persons that are living with disability, especially with physical disability.
All right, so we checked that one off in helping people understand. Slopes doesn't equal accessibility.
Not at
what
all.
other one that grinds your gears? Kenrick, tell us one. I'm sure you have a good one.
The size, for example, another good one in Belize.
You're sideways for us. You're sideways for us. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
The another Belize that always gets to me is when you try, like even hotels. You go to rent a hotel and you'll find that the size of the bathroom door doesn't even allow your wheelchair to go through.
So they may have other access points, but then not to the bathroom.
Not to the bathroom. So the bathroom doors are, in some cases, in some hotels, the bathroom doors are smaller than the standard size. So your wheelchair cannot really get through. That's another one. So even if I'm going to go somewhere, I'd have to call ahead and ask them for the width of their bathroom door, so I know that I can get into the bathroom and have access. There's some very good hotels whereby their doors are pretty much standard, so that's easy. But I find that the entrance door is standard, but the bathroom door, for some reason, they always make them smaller. I have no idea why, but I found that in lots of hotels in Belize.
Gabriel, you were talking, sorry.
There is the FFB Stadium, which is a perfect example of what the access are supposed to be. A few years ago, The FFB did some consultation with BAPDA. I was a part of the consultation, and they were able to put in ramps. In fact, they want to make it completely accessible. The ticket booths are lower because the person in a wheelchair need to be able to go to the ticket booth to purchase. The concession stands, they have lower stalls where a person in a wheelchair can go and access the concessions. They also have the clips on the bleacher that a person in a wheelchair can fasten it and stay there. So if people want to do some adjustment to their properties, the FFB Stadium is a good example.
Yeah. And back to the issue of public transportation, you were saying even the respect of motorists for a person with a cane or a person in a wheelchair.
Right. So not the observations for, just to start off on the first topic, the observations with someone who's visually impaired, whereby if you see the cane, if it goes out on the street, the motorists, they're supposed to yield or not stop completely when they reach, because they have to give respect to the person crossing the street. Now, on Coney Drive, which I work, that has not, it has been often observed that it is not something that the motorists, either they're not aware, they're not educated, and so they tend to just speed off or accelerate more to try and beat the person who's visually impaired, and he doesn't have a cognitive, he can't see that that's happening, and so it could cause a very traumatic scene. And it's the exact same thing. I mean, I've crossed Northern Highway, I've crossed Coney Drive, and it has been the same experiences whereby you're in the middle of the highway or in the middle of Coney Drive and you hear a car speed past behind you just because, I mean, they have to, you're not even 50% across the street, but you hear, and there's not a respect given to persons with disability when crossing the street, and it's something that could be a very traumatic. It could be something that could end in casualty, and I believe that that's because of a lack of education as well. I mean, that is something that has to, I don't know if it's in the...
And there are two risks there. There's the risk of physical harm, but there's also the risks that persons with disabilities will make a choice to not move around the way they would want to or choose to move around.
That's one of the great. I really am afraid to cross streets. Even when I'm being assisted, because I can't see the oncoming traffic, and that is really and truly traumatic, trust me.
Yeah. See, I didn't think of that, but you know, when you start imposing your own restrictions because others aren't as aware, I mean, it's also one of the things that we have to look at. It's a consequence of our inaction and action.
Since we are on Channel 5 and this is a very huge platform, we want to make a special appeal to motorists to give some respect to persons who use cane and wheelchair on the street. Please be a little bit more courteous to us.
Yeah. Well, guys.
I wanted to ask one question from my end is, for I suppose in general, people with disabilities, are there resources? Are you able, let's say, as a community, to one, share your concerns and experiences, because I would imagine people with a diverse range of disabilities experience different problems, so as to enable the advocacy that you need to see some of the changes that you want. Do you find that people are willing to come forward to share their experiences and you know, just help with the advocacy as well?
A few weeks ago, I went on a tour. By the way, we went on a southern tour along with the special envoy, and we had community meetings in the Stann Creek and Toledo districts, and then we later went to Corozal and Orange Walk. I mean, many people came out. I think they were waiting for an opportunity to come and share their experiences and their challenges. The meetings were very robust.
Yeah.
Person with disability and their families. For me, it was eye-opening. I really didn't felt that so many people wanted an opportunity to be able to express themselves. So, you know what, the comments everywhere we go, it was that the first time ever something like that had ever happened, that they were given an opportunity. So while we did that little bit, Gavin, I think there's a need to do more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know we only scratched the surface on the things that we would want more public education about being a person living with a disability. But if people want to know more, this is a great opportunity to plug in the disability conference that takes place today. You said that there are the registered participation is full, but people can watch the live stream online.
Yes, it's going to be streamed on the Ministry of Human Development Facebook page.
Okay.
I believe it may be on the Ministry of Education Facebook page.
That's excellent.
On Vibes, and several of the agencies, stakeholder agencies, are going to be streaming it on their page.
Nice.
So try to reach out and view, because the chats are going to be monitored as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that for those who are not registered participants, that you may have comments, questions, and contributions, and someone will be monitoring that.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in. I feel that we've learned something new today for sure from your firsthand experience, and we appreciate you being so open. Kenrick?
I just, before
Yes.
Kenrick, I just really have to take this opportunity to express sincere gratitude to the planning committee, a very dedicated and hard-working committee. So I really want to express that. I don't want to get in trouble, so I won't call names.
You know, we'll forget nobody.
Correct.
But we appreciate the three of you coming in and sharing your experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
stay
guys.
safe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
With that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we have husband and wife duo.
Yep, and we're going to be talking all about a new children's coloring book. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back after the break.
How can we support the emotional well-being of older adults during COVID-19? During the COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly while in quarantine, individuals, including older adults, may become more anxious, angry, stressed, agitated, or withdrawn, especially those who need healthcare assistance or have cognitive decline or dementia. Here are 4 strategies that can help you in supporting an older adult during this difficult time. 1. Communicate information and listen. Present with accurate, simple, and accessible information and facts about the COVID-19 outbreak, its progression, treatment, and effective strategies to prevent infection. Listen patiently to their needs and concerns. For older people with mild cognitive impairment or early stages of dementia, inform them of what is happening within their capacity and provide support to ease their anxiety and stress. 2. Promote positive mental and emotional health. Provide access to available mental health and psychosocial support services, also known as MHPSS services, for older adults, and communicate when and how they can access them. Help older people keep regular routines and schedules as much as possible. You can also help them create new ones, including regular exercising, cleaning, daily chores, singing, painting, or other activities. Facilitate regular communication between older adults and their friends and families. 3. Help with medical needs. Make sure that older adults have at least up to 1 month of all the regular medicines that they may require. Explain how to use protective devices in a clear, concise way. Always be respectful and patient. 4. Assist with daily activities. Provide older people with details related to how and where they can get practical help if needed, like calling a taxi, dropping off supplies, having groceries delivered, and requesting medical care, as well as information on any locally available social support programs and services. For more information, consult the webpage of the Pan American Health Organization, www.paho.org/coronavirus.
I am Glenda Brown, and I lost my husband, Henry Brown Sr., to COVID. He was a pastor, and he loved the Lord. He got saved at age 16, and he did his best to walk with the Lord. When he was admitted, I said, well, it's good. He needed oxygen, and that is going to move up, and then, he's going to be back. But it didn't happen that way. Eventually, he got intubated and sedated, and That was the part when we realized, it is getting real worse. We don't know what is happening. We prayed with him, we spoke encouraging words, but we weren't getting response. We hope he heard, but I don't know. I eventually reached hospital unplanned. I spent an overnight in there Monday. That night, because I was tested positive, the doctor allowed me to go and see Henry. And so it was so good to be able to go to his ward. I get to rub his head. But he was saying he didn't think Henry was going to make it. There were much prayers going out on his behalf. But I knew God's will was what was going to be done. I think for me that did a lot. Even now, to could remember that I was able to, touch him and see him those last moments, just the day before he passed. I just thank God for that opportunity. COVID is terrible once it comes to your home. It's something else because you have to quarantine. It's painful. All of a sudden, the connection within the family break down. When Henry passed, the children came and they came to my room. I have windows on both sides of the house, and so that was how we communicated. We spoke from there. Even the funeral arrangement and all these things had to be done. And I went out there to see the vehicle pass. I didn't know they would stop, but I'm glad they did. And so I made my way to the street side. I had COVID, so I knew I had to keep a certain distance from other people to look at that casket in that vehicle and know that Henry is in there. I watched online. It was so hard. I mean, this is Henry. He's gone. He's not going to be back again. Henry hadn't been vaccinated. He didn't want to be vaccinated. I was told that he said to someone in the hospital while he was there that if he gets out or when he gets out, he was going to get vaccinated. I know it's not the only prevention. Washing your hands, doing the other thing, taking your meds does help. So there's a number of things to do, and I encourage people to do all of them. God does protect us, but we are also not to put God to the test. And so I encourage people to do what needs to be done. There's a lot of things I missed him, just not having him coming home again. It's a journey ahead that I am trusting God to take me through. I know He will.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
And we're back, and we're moving into our final conversation for today. We are featuring, yesterday we had a husband and wife duo. Today we have a husband and wife duo again. We have Crystal and Richard Holder with us, and they are telling us about a brand new children's activity book that they have created and now launched. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Belize.
Well, thank you both for joining us. Looking lovely and Christmassy.
Thank you.
All right. So, guys, let's just jump right into it. What prompted the decision to be able to create this book?
Well, actually, this book has been in the making for a long time now, about 10 years ago, which was a long time ago. I like to write, so I remember researching ways that what type of books we could publish in Belize, and got very excited when we saw a coloring book as an option. And I remember talking to Richard about it and asking him if he would be able to illustrate it, and he said yes. But life happened and we got very busy, and we kind of put the project in the back burner. And then in 2020, which was when the pandemic happened, during that first wave, we were at home, and that was at the time when we couldn't even move from district to district, and it was just me, Richard, and our son at home. And I remember us talking about it and saying, okay, how can we make this productive? And that's when we decided, it's time for us to get back on this project. And we're here today, very happy and excited about the launch of the coloring book.
My Belize coloring book.
My Belize.
And,
a side version and historical, you always got two sides to every story.
And your version of it is?
Right? So my version is, this is how it happened. I don't remember it being 10 years ago. Was it so long? But yeah, my wife was kind of like nagging me about this coloring book thing, and I was like, okay, go ahead and put together your information. And she was like super organized, which is something I've come to appreciate over the years, because I'm a little bit more chaotic and spontaneous. And so she prepared this folder with all these wonderful ideas, and I looked at it and I just put it up. And I had no time to do it. But also the thing that was cool about waiting, though, was that at the time she had proposed creating the book, I was drawing manually. So I would illustrate, I think illustration for me is kind of the foundation, and it was my way into the art world. So from when I was a kid, that was the first format of art for me. But I was still, drawing manually, and then I was scanning my images and then playing with them in the computer. That was what my procedure back then. However, by the time 2020 came around and the pandemic was here, and we had time on our hands, I was learning the digital tablet. So all of these illustrations in the book had been done, colored for the cover, and all the illustrations inside have been done digitally by tablet. So that to me was pretty cool, because that was kind of my evolution, and perhaps that was better in me preparing the book. So it was cool.
And in terms of the images themselves, what sort of content are we going to be seeing, and what can the kids expect to enjoy?
Yes.
So the coloring book highlights different aspects of our national symbols, our unique destinations, our diverse ethnicities, places like the Barrier Reef, Maya Ruins, jaguars,
mahogany tree,
the national symbols.
Just everything Belizean. I think a lot of imagery that's core to the identity of Belize, and I think it's just wonderful for kids to have something like this, to be available to them. There's a void when it comes to content for kids. I find in Belize there's a lot geared to adults and less for children, and that's kind of something I've been thinking about a lot recently because I've created, exhibits for more mature audiences, and I'm kind of like thinking now with my kids growing up, Tedra, Pierce, and Nathan. We spend so much time in our little bubble here at home, doing fun things, and I find that they want to kind of have mementos as well. They kind of want to remember something.
Yeah.
So this is kind of also a way for us to document our little life together and share some of the things that we do here as well.
Yeah, I do want to say, of course, those are your children in those photos, right?
No.
They're not your children?
Well, the one of them is little boy.
The little boy with the curls.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew I recognized. But I love the idea. Crystal, I hear you talking about finding a way to get them engaged in reading. And Richard, I hear you talk about using your artistic skills in bringing the illustration to life. But one of the key things is being able to give children something to play with while they're learning more, not about LOL dolls or Marvel action heroes, but learning about our own culture and history and things that we celebrate.
Yeah, great point, Marlene. Yeah. I think with that same mindset that you highlighted just now, there's still a lot of new ground to break with that with regards to creating content for children, Belizean content for children. And you could expect some more projects from myself and hopefully my wife as well.
Yeah, we do feel like this coloring book is a new, unique, and innovative way that children can develop skills like number identification, color identification, hand-eye coordination, fine motor skills while learning about their country, and ultimately we believe their identity.
Yeah.
But I also think that older kids could appreciate it too. And it makes a great souvenir. So you could appreciate it. It's not just for the little kiddies, but
yeah.
I mean,
well, what is the ideal target audience? What children you think would enjoy it the most?
I think kids, anyone who's coloring in a coloring book is ready to use it. And then of course, children who can read as well, because there's pages about the images depicted, the animals, and there's like these little 2-line poems, pretty simple, no other reading, but I think kids, looking at the animals or the images might want to know more about them, and if they can read, they can also enjoy it. So I think the range is pretty broad,
Yeah. Krista, what was the experience of writing for children? There's writing and then there's writing for children.
It was definitely different than writing for age range that's higher than that, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
And wrote it with my son in mind.
Yeah. Now let me ask, husband and wife, and we know that it is not easy to work along with partners. So who had the veto power in the final version of the book?
Well, you try to create an argument?
No, I'm asking. I know that took place behind the scenes.
It's a good point too, I could actually answer. You have to know if you're going to work with your partner on anything, because I have my realm, she has her realm.
Yeah.
And what you do after you live together, we've been together, married since 2012, like a couple of years before that. So by now we kind of understand each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what she brings to the table and I let her run with that. And honestly, I really, really appreciate it because what she does is contrary to my mind. So I find together, we can look at things perfectly, like a 360. Her perspective and my perspective complements each other. And yes, we would have some little differences in taste perhaps here and there, but I think like an amoeba, I've kind of just overcome her and she has been molded.
And Krista, what's the truth here? Tell us.
I have veto power.
Good job. I expected that answer, but we will accept both of your versions, as you said this morning, Richard. Now, this is perfect timing too. It's Christmas season. Everybody's looking for whether it's a gift, a stocking stuffer, or just, as the children start off the new school year. Where can they get the book and what does it cost?
All right. The book is available now you can get it at Brody's, any Brody's, Belize City. That's Northern Highway, Albert Street. And if you live in Belmopan, you could pick it up at Belmopan as well. You could pick it up on my favorite place, named Factory Shop. You could also get it at Angela's Press on Queen Street, Belize City again.
The price ranges between $15 and $20.
Yeah. We let the stores have a say in what they want it to cost.
Yeah.
And you could also get it on Amazon.com.
That's right. Shout out to our diaspora who are faithful viewers of the show. They can order it directly online and have it shipped to them.
Definitely. We already got our copy. We did a test to make sure that the quality was what we wanted, and I feel like Amazon exceeded our expectations as well. So if you go to Amazon.com, you just search My Belize Coloring Book, and it'll be right there.
And Facebook page.
Yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well.
So you can order directly through the Facebook page as well.
Oh yes, that's right. Just message us.
A page for the book itself.
Yeah, we have a Facebook and Instagram page, which was just launched yesterday. Because these books are just in the stores this week, so they should be on the bookshelves by now. And that is why we waited until now to launch the page and start to get people updated on what's happening in this project.
And even though the launch is sort of this week, but have you just based on maybe your own kids or others that you've observed coloring in the book, what's the reaction like when they see it or when they get to use it?
And it's so excited. We've been getting such positive feedback on it, and we are excited to share it. The children that we've photographed have loved it. We noticed that there's a lot of interaction between parent and child, like them asking questions, and I love seeing that. Like, especially the one with the ethnicities, like which one am I? I've loved that self-identification and appreciation all of our ethnicities in Belize.
Even with the parents, I would say there's a lot of enthusiasm. I think parents recognize that it's something that the children will enjoy, and perhaps that there's also nothing quite like it in the Belize market. For such a book where the kids could learn about Belize and color. And I personally, if I think about it objectively, I can get excited myself.
Yeah. Well, it's now on my Christmas list for the little ones in my family, so I can't wait to pick up a copy. I would love for them to learn more about the things that we celebrate. And so I think this is an exceptional project that you've undertaken, and we look forward to seeing more. Maybe this will be the beginning of a series, right?
That is exactly what we're thinking. And more. But next year.
All right. Well, thank you both for telling us all about it. We appreciate it, and best of luck.
Thank you for having us.
Take care. Bye.
And there you have it. The book is officially available in stores locally, but you can also order it on Amazon. And you can have the little ones in your family color and draw, do activities about Belizean animals and things that are relevant to us. Thank you to Crystal and Richard for joining us for that conversation. We are going to go ahead and take a break. And then, Gavin, when we come back,
we're going to be talking about some trending topics on social media. So that is going to be right after the break. So stay tuned.
If you are ailing due to a chronic disease and are left permanently invalid before retirement age, you may want to check if you qualify to receive invalidity benefit. The invalidity benefit exists for persons who are unable to continue working due to permanent illness. To To qualify, you must be under 60 years old, must be sick for 26 consecutive weeks and certified to be medically unable to perform any type of work, must have at least 5 years of paid SSB contributions and at least 5 paid within the 3 months leading up to your illness. If you do not qualify for the invalidity pension, you may be eligible for the invalidity grant. Want to know more about invalidity benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
It's a fact that your credit lasts longer when using Smart. During these times, we're all trying to find ways to cut costs and save the little resources we have. With Smart, it's easy to do that. It's a fact that with Smart, your credit lasts longer. You can call Smart to Smart and Smart to Digi using your promo credit, while with the other guy, you can only call OnNet, Digi, or BTL numbers. What does this mean? You get to call any national number using your promo credit. Your promo credit is free, so that call is also free. Know your facts. Don't be tricked by the other guy. Be smart and save your dollars.
It's almost time when we change the drums for the Christmas bells. And you know that when Christmas season starts, we celebrate big at Channel 5. How big? It's our 30th anniversary. That's right, the Big 3-0. And this year's Gimme 5 will be packed with fun, entertainment, and big giveaways. The show starts on December 6th and runs through December 10th, starting at 7:30 p.m. nightly. Coupons are now available for 25 cents each on our Channel 5 website and at our studios on Coney Drive. Fill out your coupons and bring them into our compound. And remember, starting December 6th, when the phone rings, don't say hello, say, "Gimme 5." Gimme 5.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 5 Caribbean Media Awards for 2019 and 2020. Best Television News Item, Best Responsible Coverage of Children's Issues, Best Health Education Journalism, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with special mention by the jury in the Best Television News Item category.
And we are back. And if you're joining us right now, we are just talking about some trending social media topics because it is Tuesday. And so that means it's time for some trending talks this morning. And we're going to start today's trending talks on a little bit of a sad note. But one of the biggest things that was being discussed on social media this week since was the passing of the very famous fashion designer Virgil Abloh. He was an American fashion designer who rose really to the top of the fashion world. And in 2018, he actually became the creative director of Louis Vuitton. And he was also the CEO of his own brand called Off-White, which is also based in Europe. But of course, Virgil Abloh made huge news internationally as being one of the first black designers to make it to the top of a luxury fashion house. And of course, he has, well, and until his death, he has been the creative director of Louis Vuitton. He's also been known for his collaborations with a lot of celebrities, very famously like Kanye West, Rihanna. He's also an artist, a visual artist, that is to say. He did pass away a few days ago after a private battle with cancer. And of course, we want to express any condolences and to his family and loved ones. He's definitely going to be missed in the fashion world. He definitely made a huge imprint. He was known for incorporating a lot of street style and street aesthetic into very luxury items, which we didn't usually see. So Virgil was considered a very unique voice and perspective in the fashion and art world. So he's definitely going to be missed. But that was just the first thing that I did want to mention because it was receiving a lot of widespread coverage on social media across the world. Now, shifting gears slightly, moving to things of a little bit of a lighter nature. One of the most recent trends, which I have been finding super funny, is this new meme from a guy who does some personal security training. But even though this is a serious topic, a lot of people have been gaining traction because what he does is he basically tries to teach you how to get safely out of dangerous situations, perhaps if you're being held up or being or being accosted by somebody. But a lot of people are making memes and making fun of it because people are questioning whether or not some of these tactics which he's talking about are really going to work. So as you saw just now on the screen, that's one of my favorite ones where he's trying to teach you how to disarm somebody. We don't know if that's actually going to happen if you do follow his advice. So a lot of his videos have been popping up because he is on TikTok, but people have been making their own TikToks. People have been making videos for Twitter, making fun of what would happen if they actually followed his advice. And it's interesting because if you watch some of his videos, even though he's being completely serious, some of the stuff that he says is also kind of funny. I remember he is saying that if you do follow his advice, you may get shot, but you want to just avoid getting shot many times. So that was really funny. Lots of videos circulating on TikTok and on Twitter. And I'm sure that there's going to be a lot more in the coming weeks. I've been laughing a lot all week. And finally, our final trending topic is another similar one. Somebody tweeted last week, interestingly enough, he says, "Why doesn't Adele ever have any backup dancers?" And people have taken that and run with it. So people have been creating all of these videos with Adele singing. People in the background, we see a collaboration between Adele and Megan Thee Stallion happening right there. People have been making lots of videos of, of Adele songs, from the fast ones to the slow ones, with people dancing around in the background, and people are trying to advocate for a Megan and Adele collaboration, or Adele and Beyonce, as you can see right there. So if you do log on to Twitter, if you log on to TikTok and you search some of this trending right now, you're going to see a lot of Adele and people high energy dancing behind it. It's super funny. And somebody even created a fake rap verse as Megan to one of Adele's songs, incorporated it into the video, and it was super funny. But people have definitely been running with that on TikTok this week and last week. And those were just some of the trending topics that were on social media for the past week. I definitely think it would be interesting to see a collaboration between Adele and Megan Thee Stallion. What about you, Marlene?
Definitely. I do think that it is. Sorry, yeah. I just realized that you were completely finished there. Yeah. Because I thought you were going to talk about the apology for Adele. That's been my
that's
trending.
Another thing. Yeah, that's another thing.
You know, who goes to the interview not listening to the album and you've given a special release? Well, the morning show presenter finally did an apology, a public apology.
Yep.
And guess what he says happened? He didn't see the link in the
email, right?
Yeah. Lesson learned. Read that email thoroughly or you can possibly make as bad a mistake as he did.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was a really big faux pas that made news this weekend, of course. But you know, Adele, with the release of her new album, she's been generating a whole lot of meme content. So people have been enjoying the album, of course, and her live performances. Also, one of the other things which was trending last week was the video of her being surprised by her English teacher when she was giving her concert. She was saying, she was asked a question about if anybody made a really big impact on her life. She spoke and she mentioned that it was one of her English teachers from early on, and it surprised her, and it was a very emotional thing. But so that was another trending topic with Adele last week as well. And
if we're gushing, it's because one of the things I think that I'm very proud of is that she's from our generation. We grew up listening to her, so now there's a whole new bunch of people learning about her, and we get to enjoy it as well. So it is wonderful to see. Thank you so much for letting us know what's trending.
You know what? You're welcome. We got to do this each week, and it's great. It's a pleasure.
And you know, Gavin is all over social media too, so people can send you all their suggestions.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, on what's trending, Belize or across the world. But that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to contact us, send us an email
at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and Instagram at OIE Belize.
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country,